Let's talk about how to support the child when a child is constantly defaulting to you or asking you what you want to do rather than choosing something for themselves. So, as we think about this, I want to offer three possibilities of what might be going on. The first is that for whatever reason, they're afraid to choose, right? They're afraid that they're going to make the wrong choice. Maybe they'll get in trouble for the choice that they made, but there's some sort of fear about choosing the wrong thing, the wrong activity, the wrong whatever it is. So that's one possibility of what might be going on. The second possibility is a version of wanting to caretake you. So, wanting to please you, wanting to make you happy, wanting to make sure that you're okay. So, that's a second possibility. And then the third possibility, which is interesting to consider, is that if a child has spent a lot of their life, or a common pattern in their life is to give authority outside of themselves. So, in other words, to default outside of themselves for decisions, for um, security, the child literally may not know what they want. They may literally not know what they want to do, how they want to go about it, because they haven't given themselves permission to really figure that out or to connect with that part of themselves that would even have the answer. So, those are three things just to think about when we're considering what might be happening in the dynamic. Whatever the dynamic is, it's really helpful to not play into it. And what does that mean? It means beginning to support the child in developing a deeper relationship and connection with themselves. So that could sound like reflecting back to the child. I'm noticing that you really want me to choose everything that we do. It may mean reflecting back. I'm wondering if you're afraid of making a choice, if you're afraid of choosing, if you're worried that you might get in trouble somehow or that you might mess up in some way. Or it may be, I notice that it's really hard for you sometimes to choose what feels important to you or what you would love to do. That seems really hard for you. And then here's the really important piece. The moment that we push this back onto the child or towards the child, if you will, it's likely going to feel uncomfortable inside the child. There's a probability that some anxiety might show up, uncomfortable at minimum. And so it's our job then to then be with. Right? How do we then just support the child in being with this internal dissonance that has now occurred as they're now being forced to have to reflect on what's actually important to them? Now, I'm going to add in one other little piece because for some children in this, we'll call it journey back into themselves, it can feel really, really overwhelming, and a child might actually get a little emotionally flooded. And so, if you're noticing as you are reflecting and you're working on being with the child and not going ahead and making that choice, if you're noticing that it's landing as just too much for the child, it is important that then you move into, we'll call it collaborative choices. So, this may look like, okay, so I can tell this is really hard. So I'm going to pick two things, and then I want you to pick one thing out of those two things. Or how about this? I'll make a choice. I'll choose the first activity that we're going to do, and then you're going to choose the second activity that we're going to do. And so you're, in a sense, meeting them halfway and you're collaborating with them together as you both figure out how to take turns or how to make a choice together. Again, all on the journey of eventually the child being able to make a choice for themselves. So, next time you're with a child, and again, this is a child that has a pattern of defaulting, a pattern of constantly asking you what you want to do. Um, it- Consider this idea of how do I help them be with themselves? How do I help them connect with themselves in a different way so they can then feel empowered to make the choice instead of relying on me to make the choice for them?